Okay, so like I said, we'll be running this presentation using Nearpod. So if you're not logged in, you can Google Nearpod student login. And then once you get onto the page and enter the code TEZAF, you can put your name, you can do nickname, it doesn't matter. We're not going to monitor what you're doing or your answers or anything. But we'll just use this to facilitate the presentation. Okay, so you should see this come up on your screen. So we just want to see what your experience is with taking online courses as a student. So you have 4 options, A, B, C, or D. Alrighty, good. Okay, so now let me share the results. So, okay, so it looks like half of you took an online course and loved it. 18.8, I don't know how many that is, took an online course. Never took one, but open to taking one in the future. 6% took an online course and hated it, and then 6.2 also never took an online course and will never take one. So, okay, good. So, looks like more than the majority of you have taken one or are open to taking one in the future. So that's good. This is a good place to be today. Let's see. So another question here. There it goes. So this poll question is your experience teaching online courses. So there's 3 choices here. Never taught an online course, taught an online course, but I need improvement, or you taught an online course and you're perfect at teaching the course. So those are your 3 options. So. Perfect exists. Maybe not here on Earth.
This is true. Perfectly happy.
It's however you interpret it. So okay, so time's up. So let's see what everyone said. Okay. So half of you never taught an online course, or you taught one but you need improvement. Okay, good. 37.5 never taught an online course before, so that's good. And no answer. I think maybe that was me who didn't answer, but you're good. So this is a good course. This is a good place to be today. So, so this question. Let's see. Here's the Collaborate board. What do you want to learn from this presentation? You just, I won't, I'm not going to have your names. It'll be all anonymous. You can just type into the screen, and it'll show up on the post-it board. So,
it's 250 characters. Don't get
so
carried
like,
away.
yeah, I just put that for now. And you can't see who wrote it, right? Okay, good.
Are you looking for ideas from us?
Yeah, just any, yeah. Or you can just type it in, and then it'll show up on there. Yeah.
Well, that means I can read it.
Okay. We're trying to actively engage you in the presentation too. Okay, so we're getting a lot of good answers here. So, so best practices is online education, how to make online education better, some new ideas for teaching, which is always a good thing as educators, how to teach online with great student engagement, that's always a good concern there, active learning ideas, best practices, how to be more perfect at teaching online courses. Making online as interactive as possible, student engagement, best practice for student engagement. So lots of similar themes, lots of questions, and ways to prevent cheating online. We're going to cover that today as well too. Why students do or do not perform well in online courses. We're going to cover that as well today. So lots of good topics. We're actually going to cover all these topics today. So good. All right. Let's see. Go. Okay, so as an overview, we're just going to introduce ourselves. I know we start with the polls first, but we'll introduce a short introduction on that. We'll go over evidence to support online education, all the benefits, all the challenges. We're going to share some examples that we're using at the Ohio State right now, and then we'll open the floor for discussions or questions as well. So, okay, and then we have the handout here. I think we have a copy here. With this one, you can have a link open up on your devices. You can actually download a copy and edit if you want, but it's up for you. Can have a paper copy or a digital copy. It's whatever your preference is. But yeah, it's already embedded in the presentation. But yeah, my name is Brian Partido. I'm an assistant professor, tenure track at Ohio State University in the Division of Dental Hygiene. I actually just moved here to Ohio 2.5 years ago from California. I got a bachelor's degree at Santa Clara University in combined sciences. I majored in combined sciences and double majored in dance. I worked in a research lab, worked with mice. Didn't like that so much. I wanted to work with people, so I got a dental hygiene degree at UC San Francisco. Worked private practice for about 7-8 years. wanted to keep learning. I got a master's degree in dental hygiene from the University of Texas, San Antonio. And then I wanted to work part-time as a clinician, part-time teaching, but sort of fell in love with research. So I wanted to do more. I looked in California, looked for positions there. Nothing really allowed me to do research. So I looked nationwide. The position here at Ohio State opened up, interviewed, and it sounded like a good fit. So over there, I do research. My research focus is on trying to get undergraduate dental hygiene students to engage in original research experiences. I have a grant to do a peri-implant mucositis study, so I'm working on that right now, but I also do educational research with emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and I also teach in the 3 levels of at Ohio State University. I teach master's students, degree completion students, and also undergraduate dental hygiene students. And then 1 day a week I work in the faculty practice, so I just keep my gloves wet at the same time. So that's me. And then here is Chad. I'll hand this over to him.
Hey, my name is Chad Webb. I too work at the Ohio State University. I'm there part-time. I work 3 days a week teaching, and I work 3 days a week in private practice, so I got that nice balance going on. I've done all my schooling at Ohio State, all the way up from undergraduate all through master's degree. That MDH does not stand for male dental hygienist, like a lot of people think. It's a master's in dental hygiene. Okay, so I was even born at Ohio State's Medical Center, so everything Ohio State. Very, very, very big fan of it. But I just go by Chad. I know this is Chedleo up there. It's a lot easier to deal with. So I'm going to start out by kind of taking you through online education, how it's formed, where it currently is, and where it could go. Just looking at some of the evidence. So some first things we need to consider is our different generations. While we can't really make these generalizations for everybody, it's important to know some of these trends that we do see. So we have the baby boomer learners. Not too many of our students these days, but there are some states and some schools that offer free tuition to students over a certain age. So we might have some of these folks in our classroom, and they're used to the more traditional learning format. Classrooms a lot like this. Everyone's just kind of listening to the teacher. It's intimate in that it's face-to-face. It happens in person. And then as we move to younger generations, we have Generation X, which I believe Brian is a part of. This generation they like structure in their learning, but also they like independence, or they can do a lot of learning on their own time, on their own terms. And it's with this generation that group work started to pop up little by little. And it's really, really become big with millennials. Millennials love to collaborate, love group work. Millennials are the best. I'm not biased or anything, but they're fantastic. And millennials subscribe to something called the constructivist theory, whether they know it or not. It's where the learner has full control over their learning, and they're more actively engaged in it. They're kind of setting the course for it. And they're all about using the internet for information. There's no other way to find information except for on the internet, using Google in particular. If you ask me to go search in the library and get an actual book to find something, it's a complete waste of time in my eyes. And like the Dewey Decimal System, no way, no thank you, for millennials.
Yesterday, one of my students came screaming, "The wireless is down, I can't get to the internet."
Yeah. Life has to go on pause if there's no wireless,
Can
absolutely.
you check it?
Absolutely. And then we see the majority of our students here in Generation Z. They're all here, and they have to be actively engaged in their learning. Sitting through a lecture is like torture to them. They can do it, but they do not want to do that. They want to be as actively engaged as possible, doing a lot of different types of activities, and using a lot of different devices. This is a generation that has had a lot of devices from the time they were kids, even the time that they were born almost. They've had an iPad in front of them. So the more that we can incorporate technology with these younger students, the better it'll be. Because our students now, even non-traditional students, are either millennials or Generation Z. So we got to tailor some things towards them. They're tech savvy, they want to use these devices, they want to have active learning anywhere possible, and the more technology we use, the better. So with that being said, we have to get on board as educators. Maybe we're not so tech savvy, but we have to make an effort at least to bring it into our education, to bring it to those students who truly do value it. So one thing that's really helped us do this in the last decade is learning management systems. I have the 2 most popular ones listed here. But what this does is makes a digital space for our classrooms. Most institutions have it. Back in 2014, it was recorded that 99% of institutions have it. I assume by now we're even closer to 100%. This can be used in a variety of ways. It can be used as something as simple as putting announcements on it, or perhaps posting notes and saying, hey students, I'm not printing these out for you. You take care of it because it's on a learning management system. Or it can be used to the highest degree where we're putting content on there in different ways. We're even having learning activities and entire assessments on these learning management systems. They're user-friendly and they're really helping us take the next step. And one next step that it's really helped is with flipped classrooms. That's where you reverse the gravity in a classroom and all the desks hit the ceiling. No, that's not really what it is. What a flipped classroom is you take the normal passive learning type of activities, those lecture style activities, and really have that content delivered outside the classroom. And that could be done in a number of ways. It doesn't have to be the entire course, but perhaps there's a few sections that can be done. Especially when people are first trying this out. Maybe it's not a good idea to do it for the whole course, but maybe just a couple sections to give it a try. Because you'll find that it's extremely valuable to open up that class time to do what would normally be homework. This is when we're getting into deeper levels of thinking, when we're really doing problem solving. This is when it'd be better to have it in class. You can work in groups, you can be right there to provide that instant feedback for your students. And it's really the internet that has allowed us to do this flipped classroom. And also the internet can help us implement more active learning activities. There are plenty of ways to do it, but the ideas in the classroom can get exhausted, so we can even have more from the internet. And there's all kinds of evidence out there supporting that active learning leads to more information retention. We're getting into the higher Bloom's taxonomy order of thinking with the active learning. And we're seeing students even wanting to come to class more because they feel like they're getting more out of it. They're applying it practically. And we're doing more than just simply listening to a lecture. And also there's a lot of different learning styles out there, more than just auditory learners or visual learners. By opening up active learning, you're appealing to more learning styles. And in STEM courses in particular, there was a great review that looked at over 225 studies. And one thing they looked at in particular was failure rates on traditional versus active learning heavy courses. And you can see the huge difference. In traditional courses, from these studies, they found a general 33% failure rate compared to 21% with active learning. That is a huge difference. That difference enough should have any professor in higher education or lower thinking about getting active learning at any turn, anywhere possible. So then we come to online, we're an avenue for active learning, and there's a lot of different types of online courses. Okay, we look at all the different class types. There's traditional courses, everything is based around the time you're meeting in class. Then there's synchronous courses where you have the normal class time, but then you're also able to get it to other satellite locations. You think about Cedar Creek Church here in town. They have one building where their pastor kind of gives sermons from, and then there's all the different satellites around the state and even in other states that video in live with this. That's what synchronous means. And then we come to our most common type of course, this Webb enhanced course. This is what a lot of you guys are doing right now. That's where you're teaching your course, normal class times meeting, they're all coming to every class, but you're using the online management system to make the course better. Maybe putting some graded assignments there, putting different activities on there. And then we start to get into course types that now we're cutting into the class time and having the student learn away from the classroom. And that's called hybrid courses. That's where you have partially a course in the classroom, and then some of that class time is replaced by learning outside of it. And then of course there's the all online course where the student does not have to visit campus, maybe once for an orientation, but otherwise they're learning it all at home. So we have a lot of online students in the country. It's a reality. So it's something that colleges are doing because they're seeing the need for it. They have a lot of great programs, and they say, hey, let's get this out to more students, more people. So they make online programs. The students are demanding it. Students want online learning. They want to have the benefits that comes with it. And also a lot of these colleges, they have the people that can do this. They have the resources, the proper internet tools, so why not? Let's get this going. And then also when you're choosing between two different programs, if one is all online and you have a really busy life versus one that you have to be there 5 days a week, perhaps it makes the choice a little bit easier to go with the online program. So to keep up with the competition, we see a lot of departments and colleges going to a lot more online options. Maybe not completely online, but adding more to it. And I want to highlight the main reason that students are choosing online courses is because life happens. Life is busy. They got kids, maybe even a full-time job that they need to support. So that's half or more of the reason why students are choosing online courses. So making that available to them becomes extremely important. There are some colleges that offer only all online degrees. We've all heard of the University of Phoenix, online only. They barely even have a physical space for offices. We also have Penn State World Campus, very, very amazing online school. Then there's schools that offer a mixture. There's some all online programs and then some on-campus programs. Nursing is a big one. You'll see you obviously have to go in and learn to be a nurse, but then there's the RN to BSN that are completely online. So offering a variety can go a long way. And then we have a lot of blended learning opportunities where we have stuff going on outside the class, and then we have course time. So I had pulled some of you might recognize this from Owens Community College. We have a STEM course here, and it's an all online course. You see the class type here, and then it's all web-based. That means they're not even coming to campus, all their content is online. And then a hybrid learning example, that blended learning we talked about, we also have that here at Owens in biology. They put the content of the course online, and you have to come in for the laboratory. That would be super hard to do from home, especially in a course like biology. I actually took a course in physics where it was all online and at home, and I had to buy a separate lab kit and get all the little toys and trinkets at home and film myself doing these labs. It was quite interesting. So there's certainly a place for hybrid learning, and you guys are already doing it. So we're just really focusing on how can we make it even better. So the benefits to the students, there's a lot of good things going with this here. The flexibility and autonomy seem to be the #1 reference thing in the literature. That means students just simply have more control over their learning. They can take a lecture that's on there, they can rewind it, replay it, they can play it faster if they want it, if they're in a hurry. If they don't understand something, they can keep going back to it. So having that feature is phenomenal. With the flexibility, they also lose that commute time. If students are coming from far away, no longer have to pay for gas, any parking costs that might be associated, that's all taken out. And at the end of the day, it's really about convenience and accessibility. Huge #1 benefit. The institutions that host online courses also have something to gain here. Can make more profit, extend the geographic reach. If you have online programs here at Owens, you could have students all the way in Detroit or all the way down in Miami, Florida, taking these courses. I have a friend who's a program director in Iowa, and she's getting her doctorate at a school in Columbus. And that's all thanks to distance education. And then also we would need less physical space. If you make an entire online program compared to an entire on-campus program, think about the space that you would not have to then build for that. So not everything is perfect in the online teaching world. There's obviously going to be some trip-ups. I'd like to hear from you. When you think about online teaching, what are some challenges you guys can foresee or have seen already? So we're going to go ahead and collaborate on our phones here. All right, guys. You got a great list here. Everything you mentioned here, the evidence does back up. I'm going to talk about that briefly. So the ones noted in the evidence, first is the management of student expectations, which I saw on there a lot. This takes a lot of effort on the student's part. They go into it thinking it's going to be an easier experience, but in truth, they are in full control, meaning they have to be self-directed and self-motivated when they're doing this. So we got to find a way to inspire them and get them going with that. The deadlines are very serious, often not wiggle room. So I found the best solution for this is simply setting your expectations from the beginning through your course syllabus or even a recording, just so they know, through an email, any way you can. You put things on how fast you're going to respond to your emails. You put what you expect from them. You just got to make sure it's up front, because expectations are something that is moldable, is changeable. We have control over what they can expect to a degree. And then students being ready, making sure they can keep up with the learning is a major challenge. Then also having the technical skills to use some of these different programs and having the access to the technology. Then we have identity of the student. That has to do with student engagement. Oftentimes, it can be hard. They often feel isolated or isolated, I've heard it called, because they're not in a course. I took an undergrad course in political science, and I had no idea if I even had a professor or had any classmates. It was very much on my own. But this is clearly a challenge that exists, and it's going to be all about finding ways to overcome this challenge and make more engagement. In my graduate program, it was all online. My master's degree was earned all online, just 2 total campus visits. But I felt my faculty was so concentrated on creating an environment of engagement that it made all the difference. So we're gonna talk about some of the ways we do that later today. And then some other, the content development for faculty. It's not as simple as taking face-to-face content and making it online. It's never that easy. There's a lot of studies that cite the time it takes to prepare an online course. There's one that I remember vividly where the extra time the faculty spent on a finance course for the in-class portion on campus was 62 hours. That turns out to be pretty typical. But for the online section, it took them 155 hours from the same class. So all that extra work is something that needs to be accounted for. And then, of course, sometimes there's unwilling instructors, and we have to find the right training for these instructors so they're putting up the right content. And lastly, is student academic dishonesty. You can imagine taking a test at home. Well, you're in your home, you have all access to your textbook, your notes, full old tests right there in front of you. But luckily there are some things out there, like testing centers, so you have to go in within a window and take a test. They can watch computers. There's also lockdown browsers out there. Respondus is a big one. They have features so that you can only have one window open on your computer, and sometimes there's even a webcam that records you during the testing time to make sure you're not looking at a different computer or reading your book too much. So there's things that exist, and then there's a turn it in feature, which can be used in an in-class, non-online format too, but it references papers and books and things that are online and looks for any kind of plagiarism. So this detects it and red flags you to that. So another great tool that's out there. But there's good and bad to this, but the key is to understand the strengths and weaknesses and then look to improve it from there.
Chad, what's Turn It In?
Yes, Turn It In is an anti-plagiarism software. So you have students submitting papers, and then it takes that paper and cross-references it to all kinds of e-books and articles out there to make sure that they're not using exact wording. So sometimes they might find a perfect match, or it could be like, hey, this has a red flag. Why don't you take a closer look at this as an instructor? Have you used Turn It In before?
Yeah, usually they give you a percentage score, so anything less than like 15% is acceptable. If it's like 16 to 25, then there's a little too much plagiarism to revise it before you accept it. So
That's pretty neat.
yeah. Right. So then, so that's all from the student perspective, and then now we have from faculty, because I know switching from traditional to online is a big transition, and so this is the results from a qualitative study. They went through interviews with different faculty who were about to engage in online education. The biggest theme that they found were arousing students' interest because just engaging students in a different type of media with online education, the depth and breadth of learning, structuring the learning activities, because what you do in class is very different from what you do in an online course. And even right now with the demands of traditional courses, trying to get the students engaged with this, the different types of generations, it's challenging sometimes as well. So, and then even encouraging collaboration in an online or atmosphere or environment. And also working with larger number of students, because you're not limited by the capacity of a classroom anymore. You can have like hundreds of students in a class, and that's more work depending on the type of assessments that you do and type of evaluation. So, and even feedback, because I do a lot of written assignments with my students. It takes a long time to read them. I feel like I'm like an English instructor sometimes, just grammar and all that. And it does take a lot more time getting feedback, making sure they get good formative feedback so they can improve their writing, especially for long-term assignments. And so those are the biggest concerns identified by the faculty. But there's also a different study that we did on, I think they surveyed over 2,000 students, and they asked about their preferences of online education. So they were able to find these 5 different types of students and different, types of students within each of those 5 parts. So with the collaboration, there's students who like group work and some people who like self-study. So you have both types of students that exist. For pacing, some people like fixed time. They want to show up at a certain time, get it over with, and they're done. Other ones like flexibility. They're working, they have family, they have other things to do, so they want flexibility. They say, okay, I have time now, let me just schedule it here. Degree of content, some want to be able to apply it, a practical application to it. Others, okay, I just want the theory, just tell me what I need to know. I'll memorize it, I'm fine with that. Type of teaching, some are more proactive, they want to be more actively engaged, more of the younger generation, and then reactive, they just, okay, just kind of wait and listen to feedback and react from that. And also there's different types of learning. Some want more in-depth learning, they ask lots of questions, those students in class, hey, what about this, and what about this, and what about that? And other ones are just superficial, like tell me what I need to know on the test. And, and so there's all these different types of students that exist in the traditional classroom and also online education. So it's just, as a faculty, it's just, you have to be aware of all that, and you're kind of catering to all types of students, and you're gonna have all these, even when I have discussions, like we were just talking about on the drive over here, we have discussions, it's open for a whole week, and you have ones who turn in on the first day, and they're engaged in the discussion. Other ones, they turn in, it's due at 11:59, they're posting at 11:55 p.m. And it's like, so you have both spectrums, and it's just every week you see that, and so it's kind of interesting. But you should be able to kind of cater, or it should be able to appeal to all types of learners. So now the last part are examples of how we use or types of software that we use in our online education. So at Ohio State University, the graduate program, the master's degree, is completely online. They're only required to come in just for orientation. The rest of it they can do completely online. We have a degree completion program where you have practicing hygienists who want to have an associate's degree and they want to get a bachelor's degree, and that's completely online. And then we have the entry level that they're trying to earn a bachelor's degree, and that's completely in person. Some are hybrid classes, most of it is face to face. So I guess I should have put this on first. Okay, but those are the three programs: master's degree, the baccalaureate degree completion, and then entry level. So, and these are the courses that I teach. I teach an educational course in the master's program and a statistical applications dental hygiene. Fun course, I love it, but not everyone loves it either. But those are both online. The baccalaureate degree completion, I teach research, a whole semester on that and current concepts. And then for the entry level, I teach the same thing, the research.
Do they take the tests online also?
Yes. I do proctorial, and so it's facilitated through Carmen or through our Canvas, and so they record their movements and all that, and they give a certain amount of time to do that. So I think it's easier when they're online because they can't really cheat or they can't work with other people, but it is, I guess I can't control if they use their notes or anything like that, but yeah, there's only so much power you have, or yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. All right, so there's two different types of software I'm going to cover. First is content delivery. So media site, have you heard of that before? No. This is just a way to record yourself. Let's see. Let's see if this works. So this is it's integrated into our software system, and so you can record yourself. You can actually record yourself in the classroom, or you can even record it on your computer with a webcam, and you just voice record. You can do like segments, or you can do just a voice record. So I have different ones here with downloading Zotero. I have them do Citation Manager, so I have a video on that one. Here's different class sessions over here. But you can just post a link in your learning management software, and students can learn, just watch the video. But it's more passive learning activities, so I really don't like it too much, but it's one of the ones out there. Okay, so the one that we're using right now is Nearpod. I just started adopting this last year, and I kind of ran with it. But with this, you can start with a PowerPoint. You work on a different one. Let's see. But I do this for most of my online courses, and I have folders, and I have for all the courses. I have one for week 1 to week 15, and what I do is just embed different activities like polls, quizzes. If it's a live class, I would do the collaborate like we did earlier today, and then at the same time, I can also take attendance as well too. And so here's a report. I did a guest lecture for the dental students and dental hygiene students. It was like 7:30 in the morning. It was really early, but we had 91 students there, and I can have all their names here. I can see how they did on all the quiz questions. So I do this as sort of participation, or I take attendance this way. Live class, I can just cross-check everything. Online courses, do they credit just for participating in the Nearpod lessons? But you can go through the whole, like each of the quiz questions. You can see how they responded, and it kind of gives you a taste of how they're doing with the content. So. But I really like Nearpod because it's all one-stop shop. Have you ever used clickers before? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like you have to switch from your PowerPoint to the clicker system, and you're going back and forth. But you can do the polls in Nearpod already. You can do quizzes. You can do collaborate. With the web content, I think you noticed that you can add like PDFs in here. You can do web pages, so you have all one-stop shop. And then right now I'm doing the live lesson, and so you're able to do it right now. But if you do an online course, you can do student-led session, and so they can do it on their own pace. They can and they seem to really like it. I use this for stats courses, and so I go through each of the statistical applications, and they like to be able to listen it over, and you can voice record yourself in there slide by slide. The media site one, you do the whole thing, and if you mess up, you start over. With this one, you can just do slide by slide. So I can record on just one slide, and if I mess up, it's okay, start over. And if you need to adjust it year by year, then you can just modify it as next.
So you have, you buy this product, right? The school will purchase something?
Yeah, the Nearpod, you have to buy a license. I think
A license.
they sell 10 licenses at a time in a pack. And then we share our licenses with the nursing school. So they have 5, we have 5 for our faculty, and we just share that. And
You know what,
I'm not sure how much, that's the chair. They
No,
we
no,
just, they said, we need this, and so then, and so they provide it for us. So, yeah. But and then they also provide they have people to come out and they train you how to use it. So they're really supportive with that. They do online webinars, they tell you how to use it, and it's just really easy. I don't know. I don't work for them, but I should. But I really like I really like the Nearpod. I'm sharing a lot with it. So, all right, and then so those are more asynchronous sessions, and we do synchronous sessions. I do it more for the graduate students. We use Big Blue Button. There's all the different ones. There's Adobe Connect that you can use. There's all these different ones, but even Blackboard has it as well too, right? I think they have, but where's that?
collaborate?
Yeah, collaborate. Yeah, there's all those different ones. I can't show you, but they have. You can have webcams. So with my graduate students, I have them use a webcam, and then they participate. There's a chat feature on there as well too. You can upload your PowerPoint, and it's a live session. So you can require those, and that gets more student engagement as well too. And that's the biggest thing that that the graduate students love. That the synchronous sessions. I only do it like every other week. For stats, I do it like 6 times in the term. But just being able to connect with the other students in class. I have a student in Oregon, I have one in Akron, I have one in Colorado, and they all kind of meet together. And even beyond the synchronous sessions, they can actually still kind of interact with each other on their own time too. So it's a great way to kind of keep them in the program too. So yeah, because I think a lot of students, they feel like they're not connected to the program, and so they have no investment in the program at all. But we want them to be engaged and finish the whole program as well too. So this is one way to get them engaged. So, and we actually are having one student doing her thesis defense, and she's actually defending it from Oregon too. So it's a great way to. She's using a different. I think was it Zoom? I think is the other one. So she's defending her thesis from Oregon, and the rest of our committee will be at Ohio State. So okay. So now next part, I'll do active learning activities, assessments versus just content delivery. So the book I bought, or cloud, I think is just a way for people. It's very I don't use it that much, but students can submit work in just like a cloud feature, and if you're doing group work, you can work on the same document and revise. We actually worked on this presentation using cloud as well too, but it's just like any other feature or any other kind of cloud-based thing. For discussions, this is also not so much active participation, but I'm not sure if it's going to pull. So here's a rubric that I have that I use for undergraduates. I give them the content through Nearpod, they look through it, and then they just have to post on the discussion board one thing that interested them the most, and then after that they have to respond to other students' thing. And so I end up getting, I'm doing it with my entry level, they have 30 students, I end up having 90 posts to read. So it's really interesting, they come up, they get engaged with the class and all that, and the content. Not as engaging as other ones, but, and I have a rubric to evaluate their discussion posts.
Question.
Mhm.
How involved do you get in the discussion?
It depends. I feel like they're the ones who are leading discussion, so I sort of facilitate. If they're going in weird directions and all that, then I facilitate. But I let them do it themselves. I think they come up with good questions, good points, and they respond pretty well to each other. But I think it's every educator's philosophy. So. Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about Buckeye Box.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the idea of having like a dynamic document, especially for group work.
Yeah.
And you can do that through Google.
Yeah, it's the Google Docs.
So
yeah.
is Buckeye Box something that's proprietary to Ohio State? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, they do everything. They put buck on everything. I don't know, like we have an IRB, so it's buck IRB. I don't know. We have a buckathon. I don't know.
Have they have a license?
Yeah, it's their cloud. It's supposed to be secure as well too, because we can do IRB documents and secure, because you have to like a dual
Yeah.
verification stuff. Yeah.
Well, one thing with Buckeye Box that I do love is that you can use those Microsoft Office programs and collaborate within those. Where Google Doc, using the Google platform, you can take a Microsoft PowerPoint document or Word document, and everyone could be working on that. And very easily downloadable to each computer. I do like how it has that compatibility with Microsoft's Office. So, like,
Right,
yeah.
and typically people are more, I don't know, comfortable with the Microsoft.
Absolutely,
Office.
and there's a lot more features you can do, honestly, like on a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet versus a Google spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And they don't keep the formatting too, like PowerPoint presentations on Google Docs, it screws everything up. Like, what does this look like? Yeah, but with Buckeye Box, you keep all the formatting, so you don't have to redo it every single time. So.
But the company is just called Box, so if you're
Yeah.
gonna get Box.
Yeah, yeah,
So we have Owen's box.
yeah.
Branding.
All right, and then let's see, and then on the same thing as discussions, we have voice threads, and these are more voice discussions. So, so for this one, I use this more with my graduate students. So they would have a certain topic, and they have to create like sort of like a PowerPoint presentation, and they voice record themselves. So, so like here's an assignment for one of them. You have to have at least 6 slides, and then this is what you have to contain on each of the slides. And so I think. Here's one that I think I have one that I created. I think it was just, where is it? So you can see, I don't want to hear myself. So,
Hello,
okay, that's my voice there. And then you can have students.
hello, Ryan. I just want to make a quick comment.
So then they add their comments as well too. So it's sort of a discussion, but it's verbal. So I have other ones. I think they had. Yeah, so we have another student over here that, made comments. So it's almost like a discussion post, but it's all verbal. And you also get them, for graduate students, they have to create presentations as well too. So they get practice creating presentations, but they also have to articulate verbally, which is a different skill versus typing as well too. So it's a little more engaging for them. So. But yeah, this one is a separate license for this as well too.
So with the discussion,
Uh-huh.
you would post whatever it is, and then I would respond to it, but I can respond to it at a much later time. We're not doing it all at the same time.
Yeah, it's asynchronous, and so they have a certain timeline within a week to post their, to post their presentations, explore, discuss the content, and then respond to their classmates. So.
Do you have a sense of which one students, I don't wanna say like better, because I don't wanna use that word, but which one they respond to better, which one they follow better, which one generates more substantive comments?
I think for the verbal ones, it takes a little more thought, because a lot of them have to prepare what they're going to speak about first, and then they articulate verbally, and so it takes a little more preparation time. For the written ones, they seem like, okay, just write whatever, but I feel that, and then a lot of times, a lot of them are very like perfectionists, and so they're perfectionists when so they don't like listening to themselves too, but they hear it, they mess up, they go, let's start over, and it can take hours and hours doing it over, and they perfect it by the end, but but it seems like they're more engaged with the verbal discussions, it seems like, so.
It seems to me if I'm a student and I'm looking at the page and it's written, I can read it, I can walk away, I can just glance at a couple words, be reminded, but if it's verbal, I'm gonna kind of have to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, you have to,
I wondered if that was part of it too.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too. Yeah, you're almost forced to listen to the whole thing as well too. So.
Sure, and if something's valuable, listening to it multiple
Yeah.
times is okay.
Yeah,
But,
and it appeals to different kind of learners. Some learners are verbal,
Yeah.
or auditory learners, and so that, and then discussion more for you can, I guess, visual learners, and yeah. So. A question?
Thank you.
Does the software provide any sort of transcription in case that they can't
Oh, that's a good question.
hear or?
I think there's closed captioning. I think a lot. I'm not sure exact. That's a good question. I should really ask about that. Yeah.
Just in case.
Yeah. Yeah. No one ever asked about that before. Because I know you can turn up the volume so you can hear, or you can slow it down too. But but they should have that though. Yeah. Okay. And then another software that I use. Have you heard of Powtoons before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys use that? sort of. Okay. Yeah, I just started using this past year. It had a evidence-based dentistry or dental hygiene thing. You had to read through some articles and present their analysis of the article. And so I think I have one here. Let's see. But yeah, this is a little more interesting because you can put music in there, and then and you also. Yeah, so these are very quick. They still have to prepare. This is a group work activity, and so they had to prepare what they're going to put on the slide. They don't have to use their voices, but they have a lot of fun kind of designing the Powtoons. So. Even for me grading, it's a little more interesting, I think. You guys get the gist of that one. But yeah, those are really interesting, and then a lot of them are just like a few minutes long, so it's not a lot, and not a tedious project for them to do. One other thing I did was concept mapping. I used this with my research course. So I gave them a whole list, like about 100 terms throughout the whole course, and I had them work out through the whole semester. Because I think a lot of times they learn week by week by week, but they don't put it all together. So then I had them have these 6 base elements, and then they have the terms, and they had to connect it and add some kind of description to it. So they have to organize it into the 6 main bases, and then map it all out, and then they just pretty much submit it on time. But, okay, but you can see from the webpage over here. So they have example here. So you have little nodes. It's almost like you do like a family tree, and then you just have the main branches, and you branch everything out. But the good thing is that you can actually add notes to each of the descriptions, and you can read through that. And so it just shows that they understand and how everything comes together. Because otherwise, it's all disjointed information, and it just doesn't make sense. They don't pull it all together. But it's great. I did this for their final exam. It was one part. They had the exam, and then they had the concept mapping, but helped bring the whole course together and just make sense of it. So, but this one's free. You don't have to. Yeah, there's no subscription for it. But I think it's, and part of the research class is that they take first part in the spring, and they finish up in the fall, and they have to do like a research poster as well too. So there's a break in the summer, and so a lot of times you get disjointed. So this is a way to kind of pull it all together. So. All right. Mm-hmm.
Can you go back to the slide, the 6 things you had for the design? You listed 6 things. They had the research idea, description.
Oh, it's just on my rubric here. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay.
Or just the 6 steps in the research, and then I had like research questions, like research hypotheses, and that would go in different parts. Even data analysis, I went through like independent samples, t-tests, Mann-Whitney U-tests, all that. So they have to kind of put it all together. Even different types of publications they can do, and so.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah. And then a lot of times with dental hygienists, they have this research course, and then how does it apply to their everyday practice as a clinician? So I have to make them loop it all around and see how it all connects as well too. So it just helps kind of complete the cycle for them. So that didn't work. And then research posters. Part of the dental hygiene, we have a annual convention in the fall. And so we require entry-level students to look up a topic and present it at state level. And so I wanted to create that same atmosphere for the degree, for the online students. So I have them actually create a poster as well. And then they post it as a discussion. Like here's one of the students this past fall. So they created this poster, and then they have 5 to 7 minute presentation. They record it, and then they do peer review. So I have the other students randomly selected to review 2 other posters, and they have to, I give them a rubric, they evaluate each other, and part of that is, so they learn how to present, they learn how to evaluate each other, and then I grade them at the very end of it. So, depending on your course, you can always, especially with STEM topics, you can always require them to do a poster, and it also gets them engaged with other students as well too. So I think this was, they seem to really like this activity. And it's only 5 to 7 minutes, so it's not that bad. But it's structured, so you have little parts of the assignment due throughout the semester, and you put it all together into a research presentation. So. Okay, and then one other thing I'm doing this year is the ebook chapter assignment. I teach the current concepts course, and the current concepts change every year, it seems like. And so they have, this is what the assignment is. I have them, working groups, they pick a topic, they review some articles, they come up with search the literature for references, they create an outline, they create the chapter, and then they peer review, and then they finally create the book. And so each group has a chapter in there. And this is what actually worked last summer on. Let's see, we have this affordable learning exchange where they're trying to make college more accessible for students. So one of the big barriers is the cost of books. And so they wanted you to convert or create your own ebooks. And so I created an ebook last year. And so this is what it's a research book that supplements my research course. And so you have all these different topics. I think I had like 20-something chapters in here. I actually wrote it myself, but now I realized that it was a lot of work, so I'd rather have students do it, and I'll just edit their work and then create the book. And so kind of have to like, and so yeah, and then I'll just be the editor of the thing, and they'll author their own chapters, but it helps them kind of engage in the activities, and they help work with each other. And this is a project with both the entry level plus the online degrees, so they're all contributing to the same book. And so it's just a way to get them all engaged. And there's all these different types of learning, higher levels of learning engaged with this. So, but yeah, my mistake was writing a whole book yourself. That's too much work. So, all right, so I think that's all that we have. So do we have any questions or?
Was that going through Pressbooks?
Yes, Pressbooks. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is that free software?
I'm not sure. We have people that they work full-time working on this, and so they provide all the support, and I'm not sure how it, yeah. There might be other platforms for that, but
then,
yeah.
Is that something that could be embedded into a learning management system or a lab manual or?
Because I know like because I know like for each chapter, when I discuss that content in the course, I put the link for that chapter to the book on there. So they just have to click the link and it takes them to the book. So I do that, yeah. Okay.
A lot of the tools that you demonstrated, are they exclusive to your department, or are they available to all of the Ohio State University?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. Like the Book I Box thing, we have similar platforms, but some are just specific to, and they're actually integrated with our learning management software. Like I think Nearpod is actually integrated in our learning platform, but we still have to buy the licenses still. But like that Vector, Mind Vector, that one's free for anyone. You can do that. What's the other one?
The Media Site and Box, the whole university. If you teach there, you get it. So there's a few of those that we have. And some that we share with nursing, and some that only we have. Yeah.
Do you have to go through any specific process if you want to implement a new tool?
For us, not really. No. Well, I think I'm part of the curriculum committee, and we're supposed to go through all that. Yeah, but especially if it has any involvement with a different type of assessment, then we're supposed to get approval for that. But it depends on your division, or, yeah. So.